Frank Costello was one of the most influential figures in American organized crime. He was born Francesco Castiglia in 1891. His birthplace was Loro Polli, Calabria, Italy. As a child, he immigrated to the United States with his family. They eventually settled in New York City. Costello grew up in a tough neighborhood. As a young man, he became involved with street gangs. He later developed connections with important figures in New York's underworld. One of them was Charlie Lucky Luciano. During Prohibition, Costello became increasingly influential. He was involved in illegal gambling and bootlegging networks. But Costello became known for something else. He was a skilled negotiator. He preferred influence and relationships over public confrontation. His connections reached beyond the criminal underworld. He developed relationships with politicians and other influential people. These connections helped strengthen his position. In 1931, the Castellamarese War came to an end. A new structure began to emerge within the New York Mafia. Costello became an important figure in Luciano's organization. When Luciano was later imprisoned, Costello gained even more influence. After Luciano was deported, Costello became the leading figure of the family. The organization would eventually become known as the Genovese crime family. By the 1950s, Costello was one of the best-known mafia leaders in New York. But his position began to weaken. Vito Genovese wanted control of the organization. The conflict eventually reached a turning point in 1957. Costello survived an assassination attempt. After that incident, he decided to step away from leadership. He gave up much of his influence within the organization. Costello then lived a quieter life. He remained connected to people from his past. But he was no longer the central figure he had once been. Frank Costello died in New York City in 1973. He was 82 years old. His life became part of the larger history of organized crime in America. Costello was different from many other mafia leaders of his era. His influence was built heavily on relationships. He relied on negotiation, he relied on connections, and he understood the power of political influence. Frank Costello's story shows another side of America's organized crime history. It was not only about street power, it was also about money, relationships, and influence. And that is what made Frank Costello one of the most remembered figures of his era. This video is created for educational and historical purposes. It does not promote, encourage, or glorify criminal activity or violence. All information is presented to provide historical context and public education.